Well, we continue our series, Who Are You? As Jesus walks with his disciples and teaches them. And discipleship really not just being how to be religious, it's about how to be human, how to be who we're created to be. That we get lost, we lose track of who we are, or get confused about who we are to be. And Jesus is helping us ask the question, who are you? The disciples follow Jesus, and they have to ask that of themselves. Jesus challenges them where they find their identity, challenges us where we find our identity, and how we identify God. And so, in this passage, we see a lot about identity. Because as he ministered to people, he didn't accept what everybody else identified people as. He saw through the labels. He saw through those who would be outcasts. He saw through what everyone else would say about them. Saw them as a human being, child of God, reached out to them and loved them. Breaking social customs and barriers and challenging systems. In this Mark passage, so we see Bartimaeus, and Bart is blind. I'm just going to call him Bart. Bart is blind. We know he has not always been blind, because he says, I want to see again. Help me to see again, Jesus. So he wants new sight, and at some time in his life, and we don't know when, whether he was young or old, he lost his sight. Losing sight at this and not having sight in this day and age it is a lot better than it was then. We have services and education and schools and ways to read and all sorts of technology that helps someone not let their blindness be what identifies them. But in Jesus' time and in Bart's time, really the blindness became how people saw that blind guy who sits at the side of the road. Wasn't much help for him, and in fact, the blindness was often blamed on sin. His sin or the sins of his parents or generations before him. And so there was something wrong in his life or in his family's life that caused him to be blind. And so there was a judgment attached even for these afflictions. So he was identified because he was blind, and many didn't see past that. And maybe because of his blindness, he was made an outcast, and because of his blindness, he had to beg, and every day he would have to get up and make his way to the gate where he would beg, and just to get enough money for food. Maybe a friend or maybe a family member helped him get there so he could sit at the side of the road. And when people passed by him, they just probably, like we do often, when we have someone asking for money, keep our eyes straight, or just say, shrug our shoulders, or say sorry, or maybe we help. We begin to just see that person asking for money in need. That was his identity. And maybe for Bart also, he began day after day, year after year, to only see himself as the blind guy who must beg to eat. Maybe his memories from when he could see were fading away, and those images were fading away, and were just a distant glimmer of an old life. A different Bartimaeus, who he used to be, who was gone because of his blindness. So he suffered much more than blindness. He suffered isolation and rejection and a great deal of pain of his situation and suffering. We don't have to be physically blind to not see. There are many things that blind us to who we are or who we are meant to be. Things like ignorance or greed, hatred, envy, lust. These things get in the way of us seeing who we are. Addictions, things we suffer, can blind us. And I think one of the most blinding things we can experience is actually pain and suffering. Pain has a powerful effect to take all of our attention away and just be able to focus on what hurts. it gets our attention. Whether you stub your toe or suffer something much worse, you know it's tough to think about anything else in that moment when you are hurting. We try to go on our way and live, and yet the pain calls out to us like Bartimaeus, louder and louder, and we're not able to ignore it. As the people sternly tried to get Bartimaeus to be quiet, we do all sorts of things to get our pain and our suffering to quiet down. And often chase after or seek after relief so that we can quiet down and we can go on our way. In high school, I ran cross country and I rode on an 8-man crew, both endurance sports. Endurance sports do really test your ability to manage pain. If you're ever done endurance sport, you know that's a big part of it, to get in the zone, to not let the pain take over. So you're taught breathing techniques and mental techniques to get in that zone, to work as hard, to focus on the race and what you're doing, and in crew on the rhythm and keeping pace, and not letting the pain rise up. Because the pain does rise up, and I've been there, at least I have felt it, and it says, "What are you doing? Stop this! Just stop, this hurts. Stop rowing, stop running, and sit down. Seriously, stop." But so you have to quiet that voice to be successful. But it just gets louder and louder, and it's the mental challenge. And let's say a lot of sports are more mental than physical. As pain goes, though, those pains are pretty minor pains. Many of you have suffered from pain, or maybe suffer from pain now. You may be in pain right now. Hopefully not from this sermon, but you may be in pain right now. Chronic pain, joint pain, arthritic pain, back pain. It's the worst. Every day is a challenge to focus and not let that pain take over. You get good at it. You get good at masking it and not letting it take over, and in fact, not letting other people know. And that's physical pain. And maybe it's not just physical pain, but there's emotional and mental pain we suffer too. Grief, post-traumatic stress, loneliness, depression and anxiety, and all sorts of things that we carry with us that are wounds that we try not to let take over our lives. You may hurt and not know why. You may hurt and know exactly why. And each day can be a struggle to simply not let the suffering take all of your attention away, robbing you of your life, blinding you to who you really are or meant to be. Our wounds, our infirmities, our struggles can take so much of our attention that we just don't have the energy to know who we are, to live life the way we'd like to live. And we can feel stuck on the side of the road while everyone passes by, blind to anything but what is hurting. And all we can do sometimes is say over and over again, "Have mercy on me, have mercy on me, have mercy on me." A chant, a rhythm, a mantra inside us, just help me, help me. And for many, unfortunately, that's a silent prayer. A silent cry as we can fear letting other people know how much we really do hurt. Well, Bartimaeus had heard about Jesus of Nazareth. He had heard that he had done great things. Maybe he heard conversations as people traveled along the road on their way in and out of Jericho. He heard a prophet who teaches amazing things, but probably the thing that stuck out most for him was hearing he heals people. And that gave him hope. So when Jesus is actually there, and he hears that Jesus is actually walking by him, he yells, he cries out. This is his chance. He could just give up. He could believe what others believe about him, that he is born into sin and that he's unworthy of healing, unworthy of any other identity than a beggar, blind beggar on the side of the road. But he doesn't. And he doesn't give up. And Jesus gives him that hope he needs, that he can see again, that he is actually could be made to be more than a person stuck on the side of the road. And so he yells, and he doesn't let people shut him up, and he cries out, and he cries out, and he calls to Jesus, and he says, Son of David, a title that means he believes him to be the Messiah, the one who rescues, the one who saves. He believes that this Jesus can save him. So Jesus tells the disciples, have him come. And he is ready. He springs up and he runs over. And Jesus doesn't see one who deserves what he's got. Doesn't see a bothersome beggar. Does not see one whose identity is just his disability. He sees a man, a child of God. And he has compassion. He doesn't ask him, what do you want? What can I give you? He says, what can I do for you? He says, let me see again. Let me live again. When pain blinds us, we do not want things that just help us deal with or just help us manage the pain. What we really want is to live again, to stop hurting. And to know life. It's been wonderful to see some of you, many of you, go from being in chronic pain and you didn't let on, but then and maybe for years having chronic pain, and then you, through procedures and the amazing things they can do with joint replacements, you experience that pain going away, and it's just wonderful to see the new light that comes at having that pain cease and become so filled with ideas of things you want to do now. We are so fortunate that we live in a time where so much can be done. Those who lived with pain for so long may have almost forgot what life is like without pain. It's competed for their attention for so long, it's just become a part of who they were. And a challenge to focus on the things that made them them. Once they are, if they are relieved from pain, I notice from people, whether relieved from emotional pain or grief or physical pain, finding some healing, there is a new desire to live life. Perspectives change and priorities change. And for Bartimaeus, his priorities change. New life, not just to see again and go on with his old life, but to follow Jesus, to change who he was, to find out more about who he is by being a disciple. Yet, not all suffering can be healed. Not all pain can be taken away. Some stays with us, some keeps us silent, and we seem to be able to talk openly about our aches and pains, our physical pains. And unfortunately, there's been a stigma more with emotional or mental pain and suffering, although that's getting better. Knowing that our minds are physical too, our thoughts and our emotions have physical components too. Help us seek treatment and find healing. However, so many still keep their cries silent and feel stuck on the side of the road where they hurt. And what they feel consumes them and blinds them, unable to see who they are in the midst of such great suffering. And they cry, "Have mercy on me, have mercy on me." And many of us have had times in our lives when we cried that prayer and no healing came, and no Messiah walked by who calls to us and make the hurt go away. Christ sometimes in our prayers doesn't seem to hear us when we are in pain. Unless we have come to believe that Christ lives in and through God's people, in us, in the church. Because while the church may not supernaturally heal people, we can be a people who hears others' cries. We can choose to be a people who can be honest and open to hear the cries of others. Not being the ones who say, shh, be quiet. Don't talk about that stuff. And we can be a people who help those blinded to who they are. Reminding them that they are more than their wounds, more than their afflictions, more than their disabilities. There's more to people than the pain and the suffering. I hope worship does that for each of you. We worship, yes, because God is God and worthy to be praised. But God is a good God who wants to return and give us and lavish upon us joy and grace and love. And so in worship can lift our spirits and remind us who we are and who God is, that we are defined by love. I just read an article from the Pacific Standard about some studies that were done, the effect of singing on a choir, and what that has on people. They actually measured, they put like cuffs on their arms, and they measured their pain tolerance by how much they could blow it up, because if you blow it up too hard, it really starts to hurt. And they would record when they needed it to stop, before rehearsal and then after. And after rehearsal, their pain threshold rose. They were able to withstand more pain. Isn't that amazing? So if you've got aches and pains, join the choir. Carol, if you've got kids in the Heart of the Valley choir who are telling you when they're getting older that they have to do sports and not choir, you've got to tell them it will help make them a better athlete. Because they'll be able to withstand more endurance and have that endurance if they sing. We also sing when we worship. You don't have to be in the choir, though you're welcome to join. We come together and we sing, and it helps us and reminds us who we are. It lifts our spirit. It releases endorphins, and we worship. And we remember that we are more. We are meant to be more. Job was a guy who was in a lot of pain, as we heard. He was in physical and emotional pain. Everything had been stripped away from him. His prayers seemed to go unanswered by God. And finally, at the end here, to read just a little bit of, he comes face to face with God. God reveals to him something greater than all that he has lost. That God is with him in the midst of all the pain and the suffering. And that the love of God is enough for him. And is what matters. And once he sees that, he is able to heal and begin walking on that road of life again. If you're in pain, I know it's hard to hear or see anything else. It's hard to keep hope up. But my hope is that you see in this community and the God's people glimpses of the God who is with you and who loves you. Glimpses of the Jesus who wants to walk with you and lead you towards healing and wholeness. Because you are more. And those of us who have been through it can be the disciples who jump up and follow and see the people on the sides of the roads. Hear the people crying out. And say, you are more. Amen.